Welcome back to On Texas Basketball. I'm Jeff Howe, along with Gerry Hamilton. This edition of On Texas Basketball brought to you by Advanced Pain Care. Gerry, the Texas roster not quite complete for Sean Miller's first season, but it's real close. Lassina Traore, I don't know how we could have telegraphed it more. You talked about it probably a week before it happened, but it finally goes public over the weekend. He's in the boat with Texas. Gerry, I was looking at some numbers from Bart Torvik, looking at his last season at Long Beach State, and you got to go back to that 23-24 season because of the injury. He didn't play for Xavier last season, but on close 2-point field goals, he's about a 68% shooter. Free throw rate about 53%. His offensive rating and defensive rating at Long Beach were pretty good. Gerry, you got to go back to remember what kind of player he was at Long Beach, but this is a guy that's going to be a physical paint presence and will rebound the basketball.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I think, look, he is a guy that Sean Miller called the most improved player on the Xavier team right up until he got hurt and said he was an irreplaceable player for them. I think the thought around the Xavier program was they may have been a Sweet 16 team with him. So how does that mean? What does that mean for him coming off a knee at Texas? Look, I think Lassina Traore is going to be a very key player for Texas. Him and Matas, the combination there at center, and when they want to play big, putting both those guys on the court at the same time. But Traore was a walking double-double for 2 straight years at Long Beach. And it tells you how well he was playing early on at Xavier for Sean Miller to bring him to Texas with him, because they clearly had other options. But he said, I want this guy with me at Texas. So that tells you how much he had improved his game and where they thought he was headed as a player prior to his injury. But again, Texas, we're going to get into it, but I love that seeing him in person, legitimate 6'10", 240, 250 pounds, strong guy, long arms, will be a physical presence in the paint defensively and rebounding the basketball. He'll create some second chance opportunities. And as his offensive game hopefully had expanded a little Xavier, he'll become a better finisher above the rim.
Yeah, Gerry, again, just looking at the Bart Torvik numbers and looking at his offensive rebound rate and his defensive rebound rate, it's hard to find anybody on these last couple of Texas teams that was better than him. You probably, even if you go back to the Elite Eight team, and granted, the last couple of Texas teams haven't been tremendous rebounding teams, but I've said it before, I'll say it again, Gerry. This is why I liked Sean Allen retaining Chris Ogden, because Chris Ogden's been through a season in the SEC, knew exactly what Texas needed to go compete. And it just so happened that Sean Miller had a paint presence who could really make a difference rebounding the basketball that could come over from Xavier.
No, yeah, 100%. And if you look at the 4 additions from the portal, which people have the Texas portal class in the top 15 or even top 5 in the country right now, depending on where you look. Cam Heide is 6'7" and an athlete. Dalen Swain is 6'8" with really long arms, maybe a future first rounder. Traore 6'10", Matas 7 feet tall. This has added serious size, height-wise, wingspan, athleticism, versatility, and strength. None of these 2 guys are the same. They're all different players. And when you look at that, you say immediately Sean Miller understands about 1, building a complete roster, and 2, the type of roster he needs to build in an SEC to battle Florida, Alabama, Auburn, Tennessee, who's going to be physical, and all those programs in the SEC. He understands it, he gets it, and he's done it before, which does matter right now.
Yeah, again, Gerry, just want to mention about the rebounding one more time. If you look at his offensive rebounding percentage and his defensive rebounding percentage, according to Bart Torvik, I went back, Gerry, and looked through the last 3 Texas teams. Nobody on the Texas roster had better percentages of rebounds than he did. So this guy's going to come in and make an immediate difference for Texas. Gerry, you look at how he pairs with Matas Vokatitis coming over from FAU, the AAC Freshman of the Year. And he's not a stretch guy in terms of going to stretch the floor and shoot the 3-pointer. He attempted 1 3-pointer this past season. But again, a guy that it rebounds the ball offensively and defensively at a fairly high clip when he's got chances to do so. Free throw rate 73.1%, so he gets to the foul line a lot. Really, really good. 47 to 48 dunks he converted this year for FAU. So, again, probably not the rebounding presence that Traore is going to give you, but this is a guy that can be a scorer on the interior.
No, he can, and he does it through hard work. Now, he can play over either shoulder. He was coached really well, developed really well. He's a right-handed player that can play over his right-handed shoulder with his left or his left shoulder. So he can play over either shoulder, which gives him at least go-to moves in the post. But he runs the court. This is a guy that runs the court hard. He plays with physicality, plays with a little bit of an attitude with that physicality. No, he's not going to score a lot outside 12, 14 feet at all. He might as he expands his game, but I think that'd be year 3 in college basketball for him. But what he is a serious paint presence and a guy who, if he gets the ball inside 8 feet, a lot of times you have to foul him to prevent him from getting the ball, from getting the ball to the rim. In his last 6 games of his freshman season at Florida Atlantic, and he was the AAC Newcomer of the Year, were his best in college basketball. If you consider the last 5 conference games, which are 2 tournament conference games, 2 tournament games, and an NIT game, he averaged 17 points and 7 rebounds per game, a little over 17, a little over 7 rebounds per game. So he's a guy that I expect to make a big jump in year 2 of college basketball. If you look at what Dalen Swain did year 1, he was around 4 points and 3 rebounds and assist a half in a game. He jumped to 11 points, 5.6 rebounds, 2.6 assists per game. I think Matas will make a big jump in year 2, even though he's coming up in competition, a pretty steep climb there from the AAC to the SEC. I just think a year of development, he's going to get in better shape. He's going to continue to fill out his frame. And expand his game. I think this guy's headed for a really good year 2 in college basketball.
Jerry, one number I like that Bart Torvik keeps track of is your true shooting percentage. That's your 3-point field goals, your 2-point field goals, your dunks, and your free throws. He was at 67.2 in terms of true shooting percentage last year. I've gone back, Jerry, through all the Texas teams, going back to Shaka Smart's last team. The only regulars that come close to doing that, if you go back to the 2020-21 team, Shaka's last team, Jericho Sims' true shooting percentage was 65. Kai Jones was a 64.5, and think about all the high percentage buckets those 2 guys got. So again, you're talking about a skilled big that can play over each shoulder, Jerry. It doesn't get much better than this, adding one from the portal.
No, it's great. That's a great look at it too, Jeff, is what that is. So look, Texas has 2 guys who they can rotate at that center position because look, Matas isn't going to play 30 minutes a game, right? He plays a physical style of basketball. He's got to learn to stay out of foul trouble, which normally comes as you play more. And Traore, if those 2 guys will combine to give you 40 minutes of, the level of play that we've seen before from them, and yes, they're making a big jump up in competition, but still, if they combine to give Texas, 15, 16 points, 10 rebounds a game, think about how much improvement that is for this Texas program at the center spot.
All right, we'll keep talking Texas basketball here in just a minute, but right now, with the help of a couple of lifetime Longhorns, here's a message from today's sponsor, Advanced Pain Care.
Pros know the pain stops here.
Physical therapy helps me as an athlete then and now. And do I still need therapy? Yes. And Advanced Pain Care helps with that.
Injuries will stack up. They'll add up. You can't let those injuries get you down, and Advanced Pain Care has been very helpful for me.
We can help with whatever's got you down, from nerve damage to our spinal cord stimulator. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Same-day appointments available.
Advanced Pain Care. The pain stops here.
Jerry, when you look at this roster, it's about as good as you can hope for a first-year coach in terms of adding from the portal and just roster building in college basketball today, because you just laid it out. You've got some bigs that you can mix and match, and you've got some versatility in that front court. And you've got multiple guards, whether it's Tremont Mark or Jordan Pope, you even want to throw Kendall Weaver in there. You've got multiple guys that can handle the basketball. So, Jerry, your second unit, which is a thing that I knew early on Texas was going to struggle with last year, and with the injuries they had, they didn't get really healthy all at the same time till the end of the year. We could kind of see what the vision was, but that second unit never really was up to snuff. I think that's going to be a really big change from last year's Rodney Terry team to Sean Miller's first team.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Look, and it's that depth on the interior. Now, that a couple of those young guys need to step up, right? Nick Cody, Jamie Vincent, or John Clark, the freshman who's back working out with TJ Ford. Now he's healthy, starting to get back in basketball shape. But yeah, look, there's going to be a couple of key additions coming, I think, to this roster as well. One, there'll be a heavy minute player, which we'll get into later. But I totally agree. I mean, look, I expect Sean Miller to unlock more with Tremont Mark, Jordan Pope, and Kendall Weaver offensively. And Dalen Swain can handle the basketball too. That it's not talked about enough, but Dalen Swain's a playmaker from whether it's a 4-out, 1-in as a 4, as a small ball 4, or as a big small forward wing. He can make plays with the basketball. So Texas has multiple guys right now, Tremont Mark and Dalen Swain and, Pope. And then Kendall Weaver is not going to be necessarily initiator creator, but he can make plays off the basketball. And I think he'll show more of that in Sean Miller's system. So look, I really like where this is headed. I think there's 2 key pieces left. And Texas is already ranked what Gary Parrish has them 20 in a way too early, ESPN 24, Andy Katz 27, and Jeff Goodman and those group has them about 30, right? So they're knocking on that door right now. If they add the right guy, one more combo guard with size that can shoot the basketball well enough, they're on their way to being really good in year 1.
So, Jerry, is that where you're thinking it goes for that? Let's assume that final big-time contributor, a guy that's going to play heavy minutes because you've still got to get one of those kind of combo guard swingmen to play heavy minutes. You think that's where it's going?
I do. I think and I think Texas is recruiting the world. And I want to say that because I'm not sure international does it enough justice. Texas is a worldwide recruiter in basketball now. So I know a lot of people look at the portal, who's there, who's still available. Texas isn't looking at it that way. They're looking at the whole globe to try to find the perfect fit. Maybe then another guard who's maybe a small minute player, but a big developmental guy from around the world. I think they have 3 scholarships left. I think they'll use at least 2 of those to get to 12. We'll see if they use all 3. But I think one of those combo guards will be a guy that's expected to come in and play a lot of minutes and be a very, very key piece on this team, and a guy that will probably end up being a pro prospect on some level. And then another guy who may be a little younger because the international guys are getting older as they come over due to NIL. So you could end up with a 19 or 20-year-old guy who's been playing against pros for 3 years. That guy's ready to come in and be a really good player in college basketball. Then you could have the 17, 18-year-old kid who's more a couple of years away that's really starting that process. I think that's where you're going to see Texas go. And based on what we've seen from Sean Miller so far, we think he'll get it done.
I've got to couch everything I say with pending the finalization of the House settlement. But, Jerry, as NIL is currently constructed, do you feel like – and we see this with the NBA. Look, the days of Dirk Nowitzki just popping up on the radar at the last minute are over. But we've seen plenty of international guys go early in the first round. We've seen that second round. It's always full of draft and stash guys. Instead of being draft and stash guys, are more of those international kids because of NIL more likely to say, hey, my pathway to the NBA isn't to hang out with my pro team in Europe. It's to go ahead and go to college, make some legitimate money, and then go to the NBA.
Yeah, the toughest thing for men, yes, it is. Absolutely it is. And the agents are smart for those kids to do so. The whole key with recruiting the international players in NIL, you heard Zach Edey talking about this when he was at Purdue. It's got to be pass-through income, right? So It's a little bit tougher deal that the colleges deal with, but the players, obviously the agents, because the kid can make more in it from an NIL perspective playing college basketball than he could playing overseas in one of the leagues. So you're talking about the best of the best players that can come over here and can command $750,000 a year, and they can play 1 year, maybe 2 of college basketball before they go into the NBA draft. Or they can even come over, play 1 year, test the waters, come back for a second year if need be, then go into the draft. But from a financial standpoint, it has become much more attractive to some of the top European players and get players from around the globe to come over here and compete in college basketball as long as they can take care of kind of that pass-through income part of the NIL process.
Think about it like this, Jerry, for a Texas fan. If NIL had been a thing, how different would it have been for Rick Barnes if he'd have been able to keep Ioannis Papapetru for one more year if he didn't feel pressed to sign that deal with Olympiacos?
It had been a big deal because he ended up being a really, really good player, and that really hurt that team the next year when he left to go play in Greece. But, yeah, absolutely, Jeff. And, look, the one thing I'll tell Texas fans, I just don't worry about what Sean Miller is going to do with the roster. He knows how to build a roster. You're already seeing that. He knows how to identify talent. I think you're already seeing that. What's exciting to me is I've waited for a long time for Texas to be a worldwide brand in basketball. I think there's so many years, so many opportunities they could have been. And that's the thing that excites me most right now about Texas, or excites me as much as anything, is Texas has a worldwide brand, and now we're about to start using it in basketball. And Texas still has. Now, look, time does run out on this. Kevin Durant's a worldwide player. Mm-hmm. Texas still has a lot of guys in the NBA. He's obviously the marquee guy, top 10 level player of all time. But Texas, the worldwide brand, they have worldwide players, and they have to use that right now. And what Sean Miller can do, he can really grow this brand of Texas basketball the way that Gonzaga grew the brand. And they're doing it at Arizona right now, and Sean Miller did some at Arizona. If you can get some guys to come over from around the world to come to Texas and have success, whether that's in the NBA or going back to the top European leagues financially, then you're going to continue to grow your brand worldwide in basketball. Texas is just scratching the surface. Wait until a couple of guys have success.
No doubt. Jerry, as we get into talking about recruiting, as we wrap this up, I want to remind folks, get over to, if you're on Instagram, the On Texas Basketball Instagram account. We've got graphics and breaking news and all kinds of stuff over there at On Texas Basketball on Instagram. That's where you'll find some interviews, one with Bo Ogden, one with Austin Gooseby from some AAU stuff you were at on the road, Jerry, and that leads us into recruiting. And starting today, Sean Miller gets to get out on the road for the first time and do some.
He does. He gets out on the road right before the live evaluation period is mid-May. So he's going to go see Austin Gooseby. Some of those guys you just saw Texas offer: Dakari Spear, Davion Atkins at Faith Family in Dallas, Bo Ogden locally, obviously in Austin, and a couple others. They made one out of state reoffer as well. So you're going to see Sean Miller probably pop up in some photos in the DFW area. He's scheduled to see Austin Gooseby today, which means he'll probably go to the Colony to see Dakari Spear, Davion Atkins, probably be in Austin to see Bo Ogden as well this week, and probably some out-of-state guys they're going to take a look at before this spring evaluation period. Since they don't have a portal visitor this week, since they have 4 portal visitors or 4 portal transfers in the boat now, and they're going to be patient and wait on this last couple of guard spots and really get the guys they want, you're going to see Sean Miller hit the road, start to see some of these prospects. And this is, look, Bo Ogden, Austin Gooseby, Dakari Spear, Billy White, all the guys I talked to, those interviews are on Texas Basketball. They all had great things to say about Sean Miller, as you'd expect, because I think Sean Miller's a great communicator. He's a talented recruiter, and he is selling the vision of his program starting now. And I think, look, if he does that with a style of play that kids and the people around the kids are going to like, you're going to see Texas basketball really start to ascend again.
All right. Once again, I want to thank our sponsor for today's edition of On Texas Basketball. That's Advanced Pain Care. Don't forget, get over to Instagram at On Texas Basketball. It's the On Texas Basketball Instagram account. You can always find the latest and greatest here on the channel and at ontexasfootball.com. Don't forget that promo code OTFOG if you sign up for subscription at ontexasfootball.com. That gets you 1 year of access for $49.95. Again, the promo code is OTFOG. Jerry, any final thoughts?
No, look, I like where this roster's headed. If they knock out this last combo spot is a guy that'll play starter minutes, and he can shoot it, and he's 6'4", add some more size. Look, I think this first season has a chance to really surprise for Sean Miller as long as they stay healthy. And I hope that's a 2-year player too, because I really like that some of the guys they've added. We'll see how much Dalen Swain kind of ascends. Does he become a first-round pick after next season, or will it take 2 seasons? But Camden Heidi's a 2-year player. Matas will be a 2-year player. If Swain's a 2-year player as well, those are some really good foundational pieces. Either John Clark, Nick Cody, Jamie Vincent, a couple of those guys are going to start to make moves in the program and build that depth. Texas has a chance. They went experienced at guard, which I think was smart in year 1. and then some building block pieces on the interior, but some guys that also have experience. So I like where this roster's headed. If they hit on a couple of these global pieces to finish off this roster, I think Texas fans will be very excited with the product they see next year.
All right, Jerry, thank you for the time and the knowledge. Thank you to Matthew behind the scenes for doing a great job, the best in the business at producing these videos for us and working hard on the channel for On Texas Football. Don't forget, stay locked into the channel. Stay locked into ontexasfootball.com, where we'll have the latest, and the On Texas Basketball Instagram account at On Texas Basketball on Instagram. For Matthew, for Jerry, I'm Jeff Howe. Until next time, hook 'em.